I'm in between calls at the moment and I'm up to date with my client work. So why don't you spend a little time with me before my next call? I'm trying to keep the living room tidy. As you can imagine, it's the one room that we all use very regularly. So as you can imagine, it gets messy really quickly. So need to put the ironing board away. My partner, or my life hostage as I like to call him, he does the ironing, but he's got an issue with putting it away. The issue is that he doesn't. He does the ironing because I'm not very good at doing it. Now, in fairness to him, that is quite accurate. I hate doing the ironing. I'll get it done really quickly and I don't really do it properly. Whereas he takes his time and does it really well. But the thing that irks me is that he doesn't put the ironing board away. Now, obviously, I've got some time between calls. Now, I could sit and watch TV, but I'm really getting into true crime at the moment, and there's a very good chance I'll sit down and I probably won't get back up again. So I've been watching a couple of true crime series and films on Disney Plus. So one of the ones I've watched so far are The Devil in the Family, The Fall of Ruby Franke. She's a YouTube vlogger, or was a YouTube vlogger. And she basically documented everything about the family, and it takes a really sinister turn. I'm not going to say any more just in case you haven't seen it. It was, yeah, a little bit scary, I'm not going to lie. The other one I watched was Scamanda, and it's this woman who basically fakes having cancer to her community, to her church. And you just watch the downfall of her and what happens. A film I watched recently called The Boston Strangler with Keira Knightley in it. It was released in 2023, but it was set in the 60s. Obviously, times were different there for women, so she really had to push to get an assignment. And obviously, she started investigating with another investigator about what was going on with this Boston Strangler. Something I watched recently was Under the Bridge. That was quite scary, especially the fact that I've got a child. I had no idea kids could be so mean and so horrible. I think it's an 8-part series, if I remember rightly. Yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted, really. But it's weird because true crime, I've only ever watched little bits of it, but recently I've been getting into it a lot more. My life hostage is like, should I be worried? And obviously we joke about that. I don't know if it's an age thing. I'm 45 years old. I don't know if it's because I'm 45 years old that, you know, I want to start watching this. Maybe I've just run out of things to watch on TV. So if you've got any recommendations, I'm totally up for any recommendations you have. I've got Disney Plus and I've got Amazon Prime, so do let me know. So one of the other things I needed to do was to get rid of these receipts. Now obviously they can't be recycled because they're made from thermal paper, and I didn't want to just throw them away with just all our card details on there. These have been sitting on the side for probably about best part 2 months, and it was just one of those things I just needed to get round to doing. So the quickest way I find to do it is just to get my hair straightener, and you can see that they all turn black, and it shows that it's actually made of thermal paper because it turns black as soon as heat touches it. Obviously this is something that can't go in my compost and can't be recycled, so what I want to do is obviously make sure that our details aren't on there before I have to throw them into the bin, which isn't ideal, but you know what, it is what it is. Just give my tomato plants just a quick check, the little seedlings, and they seem to be doing okay. I have them on the windowsill because there's always going to be sunlight there, so far so good. I think they're looking all right. And now it's time for lunch. So I picked up these ice buns from my local co-op. They were reduced, and well, in fairness, who am I to say no? Usually for lunch I just have some tea and toast, probably because it's quick and easy to do, especially if I've got calls back to back. But I do try my best to have a decent amount of time for lunch. And what I tend to do is, my way of decompressing is just sit on TikTok and just scroll. Thankfully, my algorithm is quite nice at the moment on TikTok, so it's videos of cats and, you know, animals doing funny things. So nothing too heavy for lunch. One of the jobs I keep forgetting is to make these compost bags. I just never seem to get round to making them. Now, it usually takes me, to make a batch like this, it usually takes me about 15 minutes. Obviously, I've sped this video up because you don't want to watch me folding pages for the next 15 minutes. I'm sure you've got better things to do. So the way I get hold of these newspapers is my life hostage, he goes to watch football whenever they're playing in London, and he picks up these free newspapers that are just lying about on the train. And it just makes sense because I can utilise it for something else, otherwise it just ends up going in recycling. So you've guessed it, I am a football widow. These are really great for putting in kitchen scraps whenever I need them. I do have a tutorial on my account, so I'll link it below if you're interested in making your own compost bags. I find it easier just making a batch of them, so then I just have them and then I can just grab a new one as and when I need it. When it's full, I take it down to the bottom of the garden where I've got my compost, and I just pop it in there. And it just makes my life a lot easier just having a batch of these already made. I'm trying to get better at utilising my time when I have some downtime from client work. So, for example, on Fridays, I don't do any client work. I tend to do my own stuff. But that also means I tend to do household stuff as well. So I've got all the washing that I need to do on Friday. I try to make sure that is all done, and I put away what needs to be put away, and then anything else that needs ironing goes into a basket for my life hostage to do his chore. Obviously, that means that on Fridays, the house is there's just clothes hung everywhere, which isn't particularly nice, but, you know, when the weather's cold, there's nothing you can really do. I'm really, really waiting for better weather so I can hang the clothes outside. I'm a huge fan of hanging clothes outside. I just absolutely love the smell of, you know, clothes that have been drying outside. It's just such a lovely, fresh smell. So I think that comes with age as well. Just getting really excited when you can hang your clothes up outside, which is really, 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 really bizarre, but, you know, it is what it is. Back to work. Thanks a lot for spending a few hours with me.